Ancient yogis and Buddhist monks, for example, have always underscored the significance of one-word observation. To observe something, we need to devote our undivided attention to it, which implies that when we allocate the appropriate attention, we are able to manifest a desired quantum event in our own lives. So, in this video, I'll elucidate how you can harness your attention to craft the reality you desire, because mastering the direction of your attention is the most potent tool you can wield as a co-creator of reality. So, let's commence forthwith. Let's fathom how our attention actually dictates the version of reality that manifests. However, to grasp this, we need to comprehend how energy flows. Every time you feel stagnant in life, like you're striving towards something that just doesn't materialize, or similar situations keep recurring like a roller coaster ride, or you attract the same relationships, it's essential to understand where the energy becomes stagnant. When energy can't flow, which is what needs to transpire with energy, it becomes stagnant, and when it becomes stagnant, we experience the same circumstances. So, what directs the flow of energy? Attention. Wherever attention is allocated, energy flows. Our focus and attention determine where the energy is channeled. What most people don't realize is that the nature of our attention is comprised of two primary types, polar and non-polar attention. Polar attention has the potency to attract and repel reality. Any problem, when turned on its side, becomes a solution, two disparate sides of the same coin, and that's what polar attention accomplishes. It attracts something while repelling something else. Now, let's explore this further. In addition to polar attention, there exists non-polar attention, which is entirely neutral and has the capacity to dissolve reality. Now, in terms of the manifestation of quantum events in our lives, let's examine what this could signify. Imagine that we have two types of polar attention, positive attention and negative attention. When we harbor positive thoughts about something, life doesn't concern itself with the intrinsic nature of our attention, it cares about the content, as I elucidated in the previous video. If we abhor something, we will attract more events pertaining to it. Similarly, if we love something, we will attract more of what we cherish. This is the crux of the matter. For us human beings, we have been conditioned throughout our lives to operate in fear and survival mode, because that has become our biology. We've been conditioned to survive first and foremost, and what is the most vital and potent way to survive? Eliminating and avoiding any threat to our survival. So, we've been conditioned to live in this mode of protection, avoiding conflict, avoiding risk. Many of us have been shaped in this manner. Because of this conditioning, we continue to experience more and more of what perturbs us. Ponder on what you witness on the news, on social media, and why there is a greater dissemination of fear than anything else. This is how other influences can manipulate and sway us. There are numerous individuals who are proud and willing to go to war to protect something they love and are extremely proud of. While this is commendable, it often renders them oblivious to what is actually transpiring, because it's effortless to induce someone to carry out desired actions when they're irate. It's just as effortless to induce someone to carry out specific actions when they're apprehensive. So, fear, anger, and pride are the states in which society keeps us entrapped, maintaining our attention focused on what prompts us to act in ways we don't always desire. For most people, they continue to experience the same types of relationships repeatedly, because they are clinging to past traumas. Their attention is more concentrated on avoiding the type of relationship they had before, which is why they continue to attract the same type of relationship and partner. Most people are traumatized by an event and fear that they haven't processed it correctly. This is where neutral or non-polar attention comes into play, but we'll expound on that shortly. For now, we need to comprehend that there are two distinct types of attention, positive and negative. Life is only concerned with the content of our attention, with what we are paying more heed to. If we're living in a reality where this is our current situation, and we're facing a crossroads in our life path, Let's say it's a challenge at work related to a coworker, employee, or any other problem. If we choose to perceive it positively, and the content of our positive attention is, for example, that this situation offers us an opportunity for growth, we can overcome this challenge and become more resilient as a result. In this case, we are attracting the energy and reality that reflects our positive attitude. However, if we choose to view the same situation negatively, and the content of our negative attention is that this is terrible, I can't believe this is happening, it's going to be a disaster, and there's no way out of it, then we'll be attracting the energy that reflects this negative mentality. It's crucial to understand that life doesn't care whether our attention is positive or negative, it responds to the content of our attention. In other words, if we think that, in a way, this will facilitate our growth, then the lifeline will shift towards a more positive lifeline, more of what we feel positively about will manifest. On the other hand, if we feel negatively about something and think that's detrimental, then something adverse will transpire. Notice what's happening here. When we feel positively, our mind perceives the content as positive. When we feel negatively, our mind perceives the content as negative. How do you know that such a situation is deleterious? You're just assuming it, because you've become apprehensive. Fear leads you to become more fearful. When we feel something, we attempt to justify the presence of that feeling by thinking of other things that could potentially make that fear more pronounced. But why do we do that? We are beings who feel, and when we feel something, we feel alive. So, we survive. This is our biological condition. When we're in a state of fear, we start enumerating all the things that could potentially go awry, and that's when we get into a spiral, because now that negative attention starts to influence the content of our attention. The fundamental issue here is that there must be a correspondence between the heart and the mind. When you feel something negative in your heart, the mind immediately starts generating negative thoughts, which, in turn, causes those thoughts to manifest. This moves you into a corresponding lifeline, where more negative things transpire. However, the crucial thing here is non-polar, neutral attention. When we perceive something that has happened to us with non-polar, neutral attention, it simply enters our lives and passes. It has no power over us. For example, in an unpleasant situation, you can simply observe it and accept it. There's neither positivity nor negativity towards it. You would continue on the same life path as before, nothing would really change, the situation would just dissolve. Most people resist their past traumas and fears by allocating them negative attention. Ponder on how this transpires. Whenever something unpleasant happens in the past, we attempt to flee from it, because the feelings are intense, and we don't know how to cope with them. When we flee, we're actually resisting it, and what happens when you resist something? It persists, you're giving it strength, and it exerts an opposing force on you. We spend our entire lives resisting all the things that have transpired in the past that we don't cherish, and we live from that place of trauma. As a result, situations that confirm this trauma keep recurring. So, remember, there are always two sides to a coin. It's up to you. The choice of how to perceive something is 100% yours. Now that you comprehend this, let's discuss how to utilize it to create reality effectively. The first thing we need to do is combine polar and non-polar attention. This is crucial, so pay close attention. There are 3 primary steps to utilizing it, and if you follow it, all the energy you devote to that negative attention will dissipate, leaving you more energy to nourish the positive version of reality you want to create. Let's expound on how this works. The first step is acceptance. When we are in a situation that feels like an abyss, that we are at rock bottom, we need to accept that this has transpired. When we accept something, we can't be in resistance. You can't be in resistance and acceptance simultaneously. Acceptance is the antidote to resistance, so please attempt to grasp this. We are not accumulating energy. The only energy being utilized is to redirect, to get out of the way. your goals really want to manifest. You're just in the way. You just need to get out of the way for them to come into existence. We start with total acceptance of the current situation, whatever problems are in your life right now, whatever you feel stuck in, or whatever your worst nightmare is. Imagine that this has transpired, you're totally on board with it happening, and you see how life goes on despite it happening. You're no longer perturbed about your worst nightmare, you're no longer haunted by it. This is absolutely fundamental, because most people think that if they accept the worst-case scenario, won't they be attracting it into their life? No, you won't. On the contrary, if you accept the worst-case scenario, you will no longer be feeding it with the energy of your resistance. If you continue to resist it, you will continue to feed it, which makes it more likely to transpire. But if you just accept it and get out of the way, that's where neutral attention comes in. Acceptance is neutral attention. To effect a change in any area of our lives, we have to start with acceptance, total, complete, integral acceptance of this exact moment. We can't change the present moment, no matter how hard we try, because the present is constantly changing. When you attempt to grasp it, it has already become the past. There's no changing this present moment. What you can do, what is within your power, is to choose what you would like in the next moment. We tend to deceive ourselves into believing that if something transpires, we failed, we become attached, we identify with the things we do, we conjure up the worst-case scenario and accept it completely. That way, you reduce all the importance. The second step is to realize how this setback or unfavorable event could potentially be a blessing in disguise. Any event that transpires is a neutral event. We make it positive, negative, or neutral by the nature of our attention. Instead of viewing it as this is bad, we can look at it as how can this potentially be an advantage? How can this be beneficial in my life? Now, what do I mean by a blessing in disguise? Sometimes, something transpires to protect us. Maybe there's something deleterious in that situation that a higher power or the universe is preventing us from experiencing. Maybe there's a reason why it happened. Have you ever considered that, like any event in your life, maybe this is happening for a reason? If you had not missed that bus, the bus could have been in an accident, or something adverse could have happened, and the universe is attempting to protect you. How do you know this? It's easier to do once you've already attained a state of acceptance. If you're in a state where the wound is fresh, and something bad has just transpired, don't expect yourself to look for blessings in disguise. Just attain a point of acceptance and comprehend that it really happened. When you attain a more neutral state, you can start to ponder on how this could potentially be positive. The final step is to continually redirect our attention to what is desired. If I'm in a state of total equanimity and acceptance, I'll have my attention freed up to completely choose what is desired. When you become really adept at doing this, you will become unstoppable. Nothing can stop you. This process determines which life path you follow, which quantum event manifests, which quantum event you experience in your life, and it all has to do with your attention. There's a good reason why many ancient cultures and religions talk about attention, about paying attention to something, about observing something, being in a mode of observation. Here, we're combining both. We utilize nonpolar attention and then transition into acceptance. This is neither good nor bad, we just accept that it happened. Then, we start to ponder on the possible blessings in disguise, and finally, we transition to the positive mode. When we are in a state of equanimity, this process is one of the most potent tools we can utilize to create the reality we desire. As a co-creator of reality, attention is your most potent tool. When you master the direction of it effectively, you can manifest the life you desire. So, the message I want to leave you with today is that if you feel bad about yourself today, allow yourself to accept that you're feeling bad, and once you're in a state of equanimity, then you can focus on what's desired instead. But if you attempt to hide, repress, or suppress what you're feeling, it will come back to haunt you in the future. At this point, Whatever you're doing can be a form of resistance. Even if you're just creating positive affirmations in the mirror, you're actually resisting feeling something by uttering the affirmation. That's what might be happening. This three-step method, applied continuously, has the potency to completely transform your life. When you master acceptance, redirecting, and choosing what is desired, you are releasing energy that was previously wasted on resistance. You are utilizing your attention effectively to create the reality you desire. Remember, to accept is not to resign yourself to defeat, but to recognize the present reality. It is in this space of acceptance that our vision becomes clearer, and the journey to what we want reveals itself. When we embrace the worst-case scenario, we release the energy that was previously wasted fighting against it, and that's when our attention becomes the driving force for change. We redirect our focus to what we want, and reality reconfigures itself in response. As co-creators of our own reality, we are endowed with the ability to choose our path, shape our experiences, and define our destinies. The true transformation commences when we choose to direct our attention to what really matters in our lives. Move forward with confidence and purpose, for you are the architect of your own destiny. Thank you for embarking on this journey with me. If this video resonated with you, I invite you to like and subscribe to our channel, share this video with others so they can benefit from this message, and don't forget to leave a comment below sharing your thoughts, reflections, and experiences. Thanks again for watching, and for joining me. Take care, and see you soon.